Hello, hello. How's everybody out there? Oh, see, there you go.
There
That
you
was
go.
good.
You got off to a
How you
good
doing?
start.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
keep the
great.
momentum going there.
You doing? How's everybody doing? I'm here today with
What's the word of the day?
you getting elected. That's more
Every
than
time we
one
say
word,
election, every
right?
kid around Palmetto Bay should scream, "Yay!"
Yay! That's more than one word, right? How's everybody doing? I'm here with Eugene Flinn. Today, he's running, in case you've been living in the dark or in a closet somewhere, he's running for the Village of Palmetto Bay Mayor November 8th. Let's put up the disclaimer before we get into our conversation. Thank you, everybody who's watching our show. And don't forget, please distribute it as you see fit. So,
There's a lot of ways that could go.
I know, whatever. Okay, so put up the default little memo that says, oh, you can't find it, huh? Oh, Gina, do you have the disclaimer? My friend Gina, who's working off campus today. We are broadcasting from the dungeon, and if we can't get the disclaimer, that's just the way it's going to be. I think I probably know it by heart that my opinions and the opinions of the guests or callers or anybody who writes emails are not necessarily the opinions of my employer, other guests, or anybody in particular. So there you go. That's the disclaimer. Our opinions are the opinions of ourselves. And you know what? I don't necessarily always agree with Gene Flinn's opinion, but those are his opinions. So,
that's very true. We often
we often disagree.
Head, yes.
We agree to disagree on a lot of things.
But you know what? When it came time, we worked together for the benefit of the community.
That's right. So anyway, we got a word from our sponsor. Do we have that at least? We don't have a word from our sponsor.
Gloves off.
Oh, gloves off. Oh, there was a sponsor. Mayor Karen Cunningham decided to sponsor our program. Unfortunately, we can't actually hear. That's kind of strange, huh? That's okay. Well, that's okay. I don't care. It could have been that. It could have been because it says default. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That's the deal. We do want to say before we start the program, we want to congratulate Danielle Cohen Higgins on her win for the District 8 commission seat. She won handedly. I think she was somewhere, 58 to 60%. There she is, right there. We want to thank her. That's her husband next to her. We took that picture at the celebration party. So we want to congratulate her on her win. She'll be great now. All the people that have talked crap about her and said she was appointed can't say that anymore because she's now the elected District 8 commission. So
have they certified that yet?
Funny. Anyway, we're going to get a little bit more. The last 5 minutes of the show, you guys should tune in for, because I want to discuss a couple of people who were actually talking and crap about her and saying that she was appointed. But that's not why we're here. We are here to talk to Eugene Flinn about a bevy of different subjects. He will be our new Palmetto Bay Mayor, if all goes well. So hello, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'll tell you, I'm kind of sad to be here today, and I'll tell you why. I'm not out walking right now. This is usually when I'm out beginning my walks, and it has really been energizing. What a difference from 2018 to 2022. As one person told me, maybe what happened back then was somebody wanted to try new Coke. You heard the talk about the new direction, but after they tasted that, remember what happened with new Coke? Everybody was yearning to go back to classic Coke.
And they canceled the new Coke after about 6 months, right?
Yeah.
So we're about a 3 years and 6 months behind schedule.
It's what you hear out there is just so. What was it? Art Linkletter? I mean, he won't understand. He's far too young to understand Linkletter. Although you can go to your smartphone and look it up on your Wikipedia or whatever. But people say the darndest things. I had somebody say, when you were gone these few years, if anybody's a Marvel Comics fan, it was like now I'm blacking.
You're blanking?
Blank, but it was the blink. You remember the blink in Endgame? And so what's happened from 2018 to now? I'll tell you what's happening. It's a rhetorical question.
Oh,
I'll tell
I
you.
thought you were going to start talking about the garbage not being picked up because
No.
of the blink.
I thought you were just going to go on a diatribe about Marvel movies.
Some are better than others.
Some
I'll tell
are
you,
better than others.
Some of the
Yeah.
best ones, WandaVision. I'm waiting for another one as good as that one.
Oh, that was
one of my favorites. That was totally unexpected. WandaVision was outstanding. Hawkeye, I'll admit, I really didn't watch that one.
Oh, that was great too.
But that's entertainment. We're here in real life, and we're here talking about Vision today and the difference of two visions. Also a Marvel character, by the way.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny how that worked out?
Yeah, that worked.
But
out.
anyway, it's a vision of how we started this government and how we want to proceed. A vision that we're going to do more with less. That we're going to leave people's money in their pockets. The current vision is that government is going to make a decision on how your money's spent, and they're going to take more out of your pocket. It's interesting going door to door. I knocked at somebody's door and they asked about the FP&L franchise fee. And David, you were involved in that.
Yeah,
toward the end of
there wasn't supposed to be an FP&L franchise fee, and then they passed some sort of ordinance that we were going to have an FP&L franchise fee, but it was going to be wiped out in 3 years. They said, okay, well we need to have the money, okay,
But with step downs.
but it would step down,
to like
correct. And then they
20
came back after I left office, and they decided that it's going to be a permanent franchise fee.
Well, that's a perfect example of vision because, yes, when I was first mayor, we took over our share of the franchise fee. But what was the alternative to that? The alternative was that we let the county keep it. Now, the county did keep Pinecrest franchise fee for 18 months as part of their so-called mitigation. But that's the weeds, and some people don't want us to be in the weeds. So
I don't want
just
you to be in the
talk
weeds.
about in generalities here. In, 1992, the voters approved a 30-year franchise fee agreement with FP&L. When we incorporated, the whole idea was to give more voice to our residents, not take rights away. And so I'm shocked that, the current vision is that government's going to make the decision for you. The current government is not going to allow you to make those decisions. And the government flip-flopped. You never knew which way they were going to go. Because if you were paying attention at first, you would have gone to bed that night thinking that there was going to be no FP&L franchise fee.
Correct.
Reel the tape forward there, and then you find out that somehow Palmetto Bay residents lost their right to vote, lost their right to voice their opinion on taxes, and instead there was a fee imposed of 6%. Remember, it was 3.5%
Correct.
for us, and that's what we inherited from the county, and it was set to expire. Miami-Dade County is no longer collecting that tax for the unincorporated area. So it's funny. We talked about it with one of the residents. I continue on my walk, and then I'm 2 streets over, and here he comes. He found me in his car, and he pulls over. Now he's got his FP&L bill, and he's waving it to me. He says, "You know what? I paid $25. I don't remember what the exact amount is, like $25 in FP&L franchise fees in my last bill. That's not pennies per dollar. And
That's
if
not a
you-
slice of pizza,
That's not a slice
as
of
Bev
pizza.
Gerald used to say.
Well, let's not talk personalities.
Okay.
Here. Let's not talk people here, but $25 in a single month. I looked at my bill. Now, last month, I'm a little embarrassed. We have a very efficient house. We have the LED lighting, but we had a little bit of problem the bill before because we had some air conditioning issues and had to work the other one harder. Our franchise fee came in at $31.10 for a single month. So do the math on
mine's
that.
mine's at $50. Okay, because my electric bill is about $600. So I know that's abnormal for people, but I got a fish pond, I got a couple ACs and some other stuff.
But
but-
remember, we get back to vision
Yeah.
here. In my vision of government, people get to make the choices. People get to make informed decisions, that we have town halls on things. On this current administration here, the current mayor, the person who I'm running against, her vision is they are going to make the decisions for you. And to compound it, what's some of that money being spent on? Now, remember, we had a PIO when we were in there. And what did the PIO do? He alerted people to different meetings. We had very robust town hall meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell because there was a healthy debate going on. But now, what do you think?
The present mayor,
PR,
yeah, the
is-
present mayor is her way or the highway, and she doesn't listen to the residents.
and that's
Can I
why,
say that?
Well, isn't
I
that
did.
what some of the people have come to the microphone or
Yes.
sent in emails to complain about?
Listen.
We had one person write in. Is it ageism, or is it the fact that they don't like opinions being expressed? But poor council member Marcia Matson is the only one raising these issues in front of the council. She's raising important issues. She's trying to bring forth, she's voted against some of these projects that have come forward, and instead she's getting slapped down. And it appears to me that the PR department's being spent to tell people, it's almost like that character, what was it, Kevin Bacon in Animal House, all is well, all is well.
Exactly what it was.
And we're paying tax dollars for people not to be told what's coming up, not to be told what's important, not to be told that they need to get involved, but they're being told it's all good.
Look, Patrick Fiore sat there and passed something. Listen, because he passed it, right? And he got everybody to vote on it. I voted no to it. Okay. Passed that the FP&L franchise fee was going to phase out after 3 years. Okay.
That's
so
true.
When the new election came, because the new council wants to get in everybody's pockets, which they do constantly. And if you don't believe me, you can look at your tax bill this year. Okay. They want to get in everybody's pockets. They sat there and said, we're not phasing it out anymore after it passed. The phase out passed after 3 years. And we want to keep it permanent. Okay. And Patrick's the one that actually voted to keep it permanent too. Okay. So you got everybody on the council sitting there trying to tax the residents to death. And they're all going to feel it now that we're in the situation we're in because of the economy. You have inflation. Okay. Yeah. We're going into a recession. Okay. And the government is taking, the Palmetto Bay government is taking more and more money from you. So you can't put meals on the table. If you pay more in taxes, that means that you don't have the money, okay, to spend on essentials like utilities, food, and paying your mortgage on your house. And that's basically what they've done. Okay. They've taken, they're increasing the budget, okay, in Palmetto Bay enormously, okay, increasing your taxes so they can spend more money on PR and other ridiculous things that the government should not be involved in.
Well, let's go back to
so you're going to be nice about all this. I'm not going to be nice. I'm going to tell the facts.
It's not a matter of being nice. It's a matter of presenting the facts.
I'm going to tell the facts the way I tell the facts. Okay. And the fact is that this present government, this present council headed by the mayor, has their hands in our pockets and is taking tax money that residents can use for other necessities.
Well, let's continue on a little bit.
Okay.
The franchise fee. You know, at the very least,
by the way,
did not incorporate Palmetto Bay.
Yeti. I got rid of all my plastic bottles.
We did not incorporate Palmetto Bay to have government make all the decisions for us. We created Palmetto Bay so we had government closer to the people, so government would be responsive to the people. And instead, like I said, we've got this franchise fee passed by ordinance. At the very least, it should have been put on a referendum for the residents to approve. You know, our residents are very bright. They're very fair. If they would have felt this tax is worthwhile, I have all the confidence in the world that they would vote the right way on it. But were not given the opportunity. And that's a shame. And that's, again, a different vision. Somebody where you're taking part, somewhere you're not. And
okay, wait. Kelly has by the way, if you want to email us with questions or comments, please do. Kelly has an interesting comment. Okay, it says in 4 years as mayor, I'm paying $800 more in dollars a year with all her tax hikes. If she's elected again, people won't be able to retire here. That is the main problem, is if you're ready to retire and they keep increasing your taxes, you are not going to be able to live, okay, and retire in the place that you've lived your whole life. And that's what's going on in Palmetto Bay. They're sitting there raising your taxes, okay, and people that are retired that have fixed incomes are not going to be able to maintain a house in Palmetto Bay. And I got to tell you something. You gotta help people retire in the community that they were born and raised in.
Well, I mean, why are we taxing electric anyway? That's an essential service. You know, it's like taxing prescriptions or food.
Well, the state of Florida doesn't even tax electric. There's no sales tax on an electric bill.
Well, well, let's get on to some other things. Somebody says, "What's a sin tax? It's going to help you conserve." No, it's not. At the election poll, when I was talking to people, somebody else came up and asked me about the FP&L franchise fee, and he went home and came back and looked at his bill. He's on solar. There are days that he generates excess power from his solar panels, but yet that his last bill, he still paid $16.27 in total taxes on his bill, utility tax and a franchise fee of $5.78. So I paid $31.10 in franchise fee for power that FP&L generated, but he paid $5.78 for probably having next to zero power supplied by FP&L that he generated himself through solar panels. So when you think the solar panels are going to save you on power and that you're doing the right thing, no, they're still reaching into your pocket. So the argument that it's not a sin tax,
No,
that
it's not a
is
sin
just
tax.
not-
A sin tax is a tax that's on cigarettes, on alcohol. It's on things that you don't necessarily need to utilize. That's what a sin tax is.
I agree with you, because if FP&O tomorrow
look at the
went on
definition.
total
Yeah.
solar power
Mhm.
generation,
Yep.
then how is that a sin tax? All you're
It's
doing
not a
is
sin tax.
is
A sin tax is the curb. A sin tax is on cigarettes. A sin tax is to curb the use of things that are not good for you health-wise. That's what the definition of a sin tax is.
So if my franchise fee is running $25 to $31 a month, so that means I'm basically paying you can guarantee I'm paying over $300 a year in additional taxes
On top of the increase,
top of my increase.
on top of your increase in real estate taxes.
So I'm wondering with Kelly there, when she's talking about $800, is that on your real estate tax, or does that include your FPL franchise tax that you're paying? Does that include the stormwater tax, which was also increased 25% over these last 4 years?
Now, it's crazy the amount of taxes that they have increased in our municipality. And by the way, we are the highest, we get taxed the highest amount between Pinecrest and Cutler Bay. We have the highest taxes. Okay. And honestly, it's just, once again, they're sticking their hands in your pocket. They have hired too many employees. Okay. They are what you would call a huge bureaucracy in Palmetto Bay right now.
Well, it gets back to fiscal responsibility. And I can talk about both fiscal responsibility as well as I can talk about the fact, again, the voice of the people. I think one of the council members who wasn't able to attend the last meeting was bringing forward 2 items, one of which was a charter amendment to require a 4/5 vote before they raise taxes. Now, that's not a unified vote. That's not 5-0. That's 4-1.
Mhm.
And most of the time, the budgets. Show me a time that the budgets haven't passed 4-1 or 5-0. There's been very few 3-2, and quite frankly, I'd like to see if somebody really feels. Most of the time, those anti-votes are more of a convenience vote, so they can go in there and say, "Well, I voted against that." But if they really had to get those 4 votes, they'd really sharpen their pencils. But they didn't want to give anybody a voice on that. The second thing, which is an absolute crying shame, was that Councilwoman Marcia Mattson wanted to bring forward on the Citizens Bill of Rights, a sustainability Bill of Rights, which highly controversial thing, guaranteeing you clean air, clean water. Let me get to the point that she also created a sustainability committee. We know where those committees are going to go. As a citizens committee, we're not teaching science here. This is not going to be an over technical committee. This is to sell sustainability, but the people should be allowed to vote on whether they want clean air and clean water in the village of Palmetto Bay, if they want that to be a policy there. It's a crime, and it's actually a statement against the environment and a statement against the people's voice that they did not allow those to go to the ballot. There's no explanation for it. They try to say it failed for lack of a second.
I got to tell you, honestly,
talk about what
honestly,
happened.
let's talk about this. So I have 3 ballot initiatives, okay, that I'm going to go in the next 3 to 6 months to collect signatures for to have a special election. And one of them is exactly what you talked about, a supermajority of 4 votes yes on any budget. I think that a budget that is increased, okay, deserves to have a budget that's increased, that you have to increase taxes on, deserves to have four council members vote on it, okay, and not 3 but 4. So that's going to be one of them. There's a couple other initiatives that I'm going to do, and I'm going to have signatures collected. So if anybody wants to join me on collecting signatures, please let me know so we can get it on the ballot and we can help move Palmetto Bay forward.
Well, you won't need that if I get elected in November, because I will make sure that gets through on there. But obviously,
Yeah.
if it doesn't,
Well, you don't
keep
know who's
pushing.
going to, you don't know who's going to vote with you or against you, and it matters who's still in
Well,
office.
the problem is it's an issue that's hard to say no, and they found the only way to do it. Patrick was not able to make that meeting. He was one of the sponsors of the items. Councilwoman Marcia Matson moved the item forward. Now, when the mayor says that it failed for lack of a second, the truth is that it failed for her effort at making a second. And you can remember plenty of times as mayor when I would pass the gavel to the vice mayor, if the vice mayor wouldn't make a second, or if the vice mayor was the movant, and I would second the item at least for discussion to move on. It was a purposeful move to stay mute. Obviously, if nobody seconded it, they weren't going to vote for it. So that means that night in question, with the 4 people there was only 1 vote in favor of putting those items on the ballot, and that was Councilwoman Marcia Matson.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean, look, she's not my favorite person, but then again, she's actually the only one on the council that has thought about the Village of Palmetto Bay residents.
Well, the other thing, she was the voice of the people in terms of trying to bring forward and discuss the EAR report, which was going to impact our zoning.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of things put in that report that people really need to hear about. Density issues, granny flats, things that are there. And the message from that, and it gets back to vision again. My vision is we're up front with the residents, telling them what's going to happen. The vision of the current group in office is, well, don't worry about what it says. We just had to say the right thing for the state. We're going to send it to them, get them off our back, and ignore them.
Listen, the fact of the matter is our council is like
intellectually and actually dishonest.
Our council is like an out of control homeowners association or condo association. They sit there. They want to basically run the roost, and it just has not worked. It hasn't worked because it's at the detriment of the residents. That what they're doing is, and the residents don't understand because they're busy with living their lives, which I completely understand. They don't understand what this present council is doing. Anyway, there's a couple of comments here from Renee. Taxation is theft. For the most part, yeah, if they misuse the money, if they're not misusing the money, it's not necessarily theft. And Palmetto Bay has a history in the last 4 years of misusing residents' money on stuff that they really should not be involved in.
Well, again, what have we been? The last 4 years have been kind of back to that Marvel movie, The Blip. What's really happened? You remember when it was a campaign issue, the Coral Reef Park community building there.
Yeah.
They were saying, oh, Flynn wants to just knock it down and build and spend money.
It had to be knocked down.
But they said it could be repaired. Remember?
No.
They said it could be repaired. Her supporters came in front. They even brought their own engineer into the building one day.
Their own engineer that did not have by the way, their own engineer from Alabama that had absolutely no license, in Florida, to sit there and they knew nothing about the Florida building code or the Miami-Dade building code. They're from Alabama and came up and said, oh, we can rebuild that. We can rebuild that. Do you remember that?
That was a campaign statement. Again,
that's right.
Who told the truth that time?
I told the truth because I know more about construction.
I said it needed to come down.
Yeah, I know more about construction than the engineer that came in.
They could barely wait till the election was certified before that building came down.
That's right.
Which meant they knew the whole time
that the building had to come down.
That the building had to come down. So as far as the record of dishonesty of that is there. But here, let's talk about overdevelopment, okay? Let's talk about the fact that under the code that was enacted, that Cunningham voted for, that I voted for, we both were one of 5 votes for that code that went in there. It had design considerations in it, but let's be honest with that. Show me a building that came before us that got a maximum of everything. Everything we trimmed down from the code. So residents had some sort of certainty of what was going to go there. They knew that was the cap. But little did they know when they talked about doing a rewrite and lowering things in the downtown urban village, little did they know because PR department didn't put it out. But a couple ordinances were enacted in 2019. Ordinances 2019-09 and 2019-13. Never any explanation to the public of what they were needed for, but it was a whole new variance procedure. Some would argue it monetized our planning department because now people could come before the council or worse, administratively, and get an additional floor, get additional thing. And we just saw that in an area that we were trying to protect. where there's a lot of those older homes in there along the Franjo Road area. These are homes that are on a quarter acre, 900 square foot homes. People have lived in there probably 2 or 3 generations of the same families. We just saw a zoning hearing a couple years back. I think that was after you were on the council. That was after the DUV. That was under the new code that the Franjo Medical Building LLC went in there, and that's 5 stories, 72,000 square feet. Under Karen's code, the parking requirements were 196, but using that variance that they passed without really explaining to people why they needed a variance. Raise your hand out there if somebody thinks that medical buildings aren't probably some of the most parking need intensive uses.
That's correct.
And even then, for 72,000 square feet, what is your professional opinion as a developer for medical and retail? 72,000 square feet on 0.95 of an acre, having 196 parking spaces. Is that good or low?
It's low.
Well, do you know that at the end, after multiple variances put on that property approved by the council after you left under her code, that they knocked the parking requirement down to 102?
Do you
Is that significant?
Okay, yes, it's significant. But you know what else is significant? That one of the former council members is financing that building. Okay. And I'm not gonna mention any names, but somebody who actually sat there, okay, and voted to approve it is now financing that building.
I do notice that piece of property has my opponent's sign on it. So I guess they're very thankful.
Okay, so tell me that's
they're very thankful for what they got in terms of variances, and they want to show their
tell
appreciation.
Tell me how underhanded that is to sit there and not only, and by the way, it's not financed through a bank. It's financed by from what I understand, a private individual. So you tell me how underhanded that is to sit there and vote approval on the building with total lack of parking, and then sit there and say, okay, well, I'll finance the building after the fact.
Well, when you want to talk about who is a developer's best friend, I want you to think, if you're sitting in your house that, you're in a neighborhood of 1,000 square foot homes, 1,000 to 1,500 square foot homes on quarter acres, and now you're going to be living next door or attempting, let's be honest, attempting to live next door to a 5-story, 72,000 square foot. So it's at 72 to 100 times larger. Is my math right on that?
Okay, go ahead. What, 72 what?
72,000 square foot building next to an 895 square foot building.
Okay, so
is that 10 times the size?
Yeah, about 9 times.
So 9 times the size of what you have living next to. So what does that do to the neighborhood? That quickly accelerates the transition from residential to like use. And that's what you call trend of development. And that's why trend of development is so important here. And they don't seem to understand that.
all this, you're so far in the minutia, but all this is the fact that they took a zoning code that permitted only 3,500 units, right? Is that right? 3,500 apartment units, which shouldn't be apartment. The whole downtown area shouldn't be apartments, but that's a different story. They took a zoning code that has 3,000 units, 3,500 units, and they bumped the zoning code up to 6,500 units on the last go round with the zoning code. And the mayor's running around telling everybody, oh, it's only 2,500 when it's actually 6,500. So there's 4,000 units that she's blatantly lying about. Okay, because eventually there's going to be 6,500 units, and I've talked about this. I can't tell you how often I've talked about this. There's going to be actually 6,500 units in the downtown area in that triangle. Okay, and there's only 7,000 single-family homes. So she has sat there. The present council more than doubled the amount of units that are going to be available to be built for apartments in an area that at one time only had 3,000 units. Okay, and that's what these residents are going to get. Because, it's a dog and pony show. They're basically lying to everybody, and you can't have community workshops where you ask any of these people any money because they don't want to come out and say anything to residents because they know they're blatantly lying.
Well, that gets, it doesn't just end with the Franjo Road, Franjo medical offices. Even when I was in office, remember, there were projects I voted against. You even voted for it, but the Parkview Apartments on Southwest 174th Street. I didn't just take a vote of convenience against it. I vehemently argued against it. And you know what? It's turned out to be just as bad as I said it was going to be, and it gets worse. My opponent, the current mayor, voted to approve, didn't say a darn thing against. But what gets worse is there were 2 additional proceedings under there that they don't seem to talk about. And in January of 2020, they held a plat hearing, but that plat wasn't just simply to approve the plat that was approved. Substantive changes were allowed. They could have stopped that building then when they discovered, well, that Parkview Road that was a priority listed in Mayor Cunningham's strategic plan, when that was stopped and put the bollards and put it into place.
I can tell you, she has never voted against an apartment complex that I know of. Every apartment complex that when I was sitting up there, every development, she voted yes for.
And even then, let's look at the one.
And by the way, go look at who's contributing to her campaign right now, or who contributed 4 years ago. It's all developers. She's getting so much money from developers and from people that don't live in Palmetto Bay, because her family has money, but it's not coming from residents of Palmetto Bay.
Well,
it isn't, and
it gets
so
worse
she's
than
funding.
that. Again, my vision was that we keep control of our streets, that we keep control and monitor the conditions that are put in development orders. On one of your shows, Ed Silva mentioned that they were not following the dictates of that. Where I lost 4-1, there was still requirements in there to prevent turning the wrong way.
Correct.
On
That was
174.
that's what I added. Okay,
and it was confirmed. They said, "Whoops," and they were going to monitor.
That's right.
I drove down that street late last week,
and they didn't fix it.
They still have not fixed it, and they don't intend to. Because why?
Because nobody's watching the store.
No, because they turned that street over to the developer. There's a resolution that passed in October of 2020 where they pushed a return. They pushed a return to mobility impact fees, taxes on development, back to the developer, and give the developer control over the development of 174th Street from 95th Avenue to the furthest property line. That's in October 2020. We're almost in October 2022, and that street is still unusable for the entire neighborhood.
The problem with that street is all the neighbors were worried about traffic flowing east. I'm right east, okay?
Yes, going to 87th Avenue.
And going through the neighborhoods. So we came up with a solution, okay, that you couldn't make a right-hand turn out of that project.
It's supposed to be left turn only because
we wanted them to stay on US 1.
If you remember the traffic engineer said that their study showed that only 6% of the people would go east and head to 87th Avenue. And then we all laughed, and then we went back to
That's right. So I thought the solution should be you can't make a right-hand turn, okay, because I don't want to impact the residents, okay, that were there. The residents don't deserve that much traffic coming from that apartment complex. I'm not a big fan of apartment complexes anyway, but they had the zoning, okay.
Well, but we're trying to get in. The vision we have is ice cream shops,
and so shops. So nobody watches the store. You pass this stuff. You pass ordinances. We passed an ordinance that you're not allowed to use plastic straws in Palmetto Bay 2.5 years ago. Nobody cares about that. I mean, nobody's sitting there saying, checking out the restaurants to see if they're using plastic. Why pass all this stuff if nobody's watching the store?
Because they pass it to tell those that care that they care, and they passed it. But if you go into Pinecrest that passed that same ordinance,
everybody uses paper straws.
Paper straws. You go through McDonald's and that in Palmetto Bay, you still get handed plastic. So again, everything's for show. Everything's for spin. And again, let's talk about a couple things. They want to talk about money they've gotten in. Well, first of all, Palmetto Bay has not gotten $3 million in water money. Palmetto Bay has been awarded entitlement to $3 million in water money.
If they can come up with $3 million.
Now, the problem with that is that Palmetto Bay has to match that $3 million with stormwater money. That's what happens when you have stormwater projects. It's a 50-50 match. It's a partnership. And that's the way it's always been. That's why in past years, we've always asked for $100,000 to $500,000 because you target it for what you have in your stormwater. Now they're going to have to go back and take it out of general proceeds, the same money we use for our parks, the same money we use for our police, the same money we use for our general public works. So it's a budgeting nightmare. They're crossing streams, as they would say in other movies, and that could be a disaster. But, so it's an entitlement. Now, I say they're entitled to it. Will they get it? Because, again, the past history of this council during the blip has been the fact that in 2017, we all worked hard to get $1 million TAP grant. That's through the TPO, Miami-Dade County, to get $1 million to get road infrastructure, bicycle infrastructure, get bikes off the road in front of cars and get them off to the side. We got $1 million for that. And recently, Palmetto Bay has made a policy decision to return that money to Miami-Dade County. They don't announce that. So that $3 million now, you can now knock $1 million off because we're only going to get $2 million net. Now, there was the other project that was near and dear to your heart that we worked hard, was the find money, which we actually went through a consultant and got a significant grant. I think probably somewhere between $750,000 and $1 million for that.
For a lot of park, right?
Shore stabilization. And we're even going to do, and it was a lot of hard work that went into it, residents you were going to have added to Thalata a very nice observation pier, not a fishing pier, but an observation pier where you could go out and look deeper into the water, the nursery grass, look back into deering, look back into the areas there. It was going to be beautiful. And you had this council deny it under you, wasn't that correct?
No, it was,
They
I
voted
pushed
it.
it.
We voted it
Yes, right.
in under me.
Correct.
Then when I left office, they voted it down to spite you.
Correct.
And then once you were out of office, they voted to bring it back. Did they not?
Correct.
Follow the bouncing ball. Can they ever keep a consistent opinion here?
Well, can they ever keep a theory on how the village should be run? It was going to be a great pier. It was going to be, it was actually the consultant was somebody I recommended. It would have been basically the only pier that went out in the ocean in Dade County to sit there and just observe and stuff like that. It would have been great for a family walk for kids and for adults and a definitely excellent addition to Thalata Park. So what happened? Nothing.
So
But they took the money to build a 10-foot wide sidewalk on 136th Street.
it's not even a 10-foot wide
But
sidewalk.
that's what they took the money for. So instead of a nice pier to sit there and watch the fish and go out there and relax and walk and everything else, they put a 10-foot sidewalk on 136th Street with nothing but more concrete.
Knocking down trees that
Yeah,
were
it's knocking
paid
down
for from other
Yeah.
grants. So
Correct.
you've got to take that grant money
Yeah.
went into those trees that now have just been plowed over.
Not the only trees they've killed in the last 4 years.
Well, remember, we were right as well. I don't know where she is today, but I was mocked when I said that those trees are going to be suffocated when they put 4 to 6 feet of earth around the base of the tree and then asphalted around at the new bridge they had to have, one of the least trafficked pedestrian bridges ever built.
It's nuts.
The next time we see someone on a bridge will be pretty close to the first time we've seen someone use that bridge. And it really is a bridge to nowhere. It's a monument to absurdity. It's
Listen, all I want people to know is if you're thinking about voting for Karen Cunningham, please just tell me one thing positive that she's done, okay, in the past 4 years. That's all I'm asking for. Just tell me one improvement, okay, that Karen Cunningham has made in anybody's life in the last 4 years. Hey, Alan Hallis, man, how you doing, buddy? That's nice of you to sign in. Just tell me what she's done to move Palmetto Bay forward, besides the fact that she takes a lot of selfies with a lot of residents.
Well, let's talk about traffic relief. Well, one, we're getting a bridge. And why are we getting a bridge? Political malpractice. She reported in that one Herald article that she couldn't change her schedule on a dime and that she had union business that day.
That was
a
Curry
lie.
Park.
We have to call it what it is.
Yeah.
That was a lie because she was at the park taking an exercise video, if I remember correctly, and our now elected commissioner exposed her on that. I had conversations myself talking with members of the TPO on that, and the discussion was, Flynn, people knew this was coming. We had people here from Cutler Bay. We had people here in support of the bridge. Where was the city? What do you want us to do? Now, I had a great working relationship with the county. Please put the camera on David and me when I say this here. I had a great relationship with the county.
Yeah.
Remember when I worked with the county and got that $10 million grant for?
Yeah,
We don't want to
talk
that
about
$10
that.
million grant?
that
We
came-
were the first city. Everybody was private money that went
Yeah.
in for that grant. And Palmetto Bay
got my $10 million.
got your $10 million.
Actually, $9 million.
David, I want
It
to
was $9
publicly,
million.
I
You
want
wanna
to
publicly
publicly thank you for that money.
to take my $9
But
million.
this is a lighter moment for those that
Yeah.
may not realize it. With a project that then Councilman Singer had when it wasn't going to happen, that money became free. And we looked for opportunities to save our taxpayers' money. Now, remember, your tax dollars went into that bond that they were paying out of it. And Palmetto Bay was the first city working with then Commissioner Danielle Levine Cava to reach into that. And we had to move quickly because other cities saw us do that, and other cities did eventually dip into that money. The money's that what they called became available.
It was only $9 million on my behalf.
Well, but we still got 10 on
You
that.
still
Yeah,
got-
we still
you still
got
got-
10.
you still got
Because
the
other
extra.
money had been
Yeah, I
turned
know.
back. So we got 10 for that. And again, that's a smart way to save money because we paid for that. So let's bring it to our own city and use. And that was used for Franjo
Yeah,
Road
correct.
or misused later on because
Misused
a lot of
on
money.
Francis Road.
There were
Yeah.
the deliverables were missed on that, and it wasn't my fault. It was what happened
But
afterwards.
Francis Road isn't what Francis Road was supposed
No,
to
it's
be.
not.
It's
It's
not.
not.
It's just
And
now
that's-
it was supposed to be a downtown road that was absolutely, how do I explain this? It was supposed to be a nice downtown road, and what it's turned out to be is just another road.
And it was
right?
supposed to stimulate the type of development
And that brings in
the
business.
vision we had
Mhm.
for, which was
To
for
bring in
boutique-
business, not apartments.
boutique businesses, restaurants,
Correct.
entertainment centers. And instead, what are we getting now? Look at the Shores property that I like to kick that developer
Mhm.
in the rear on. But remember, Cunningham voted for that. I voted for that. You voted for that. There was going to be significant commercial in there. There was
And
going to be
activity.
significant public green space
Mhm.
as well as private
So you
green
could ride your
space.
bike there.
And
with your
what do you
kids.
have now? The developer saw that basically everything was just torn asunder there. And now you're getting 3-story walk-up apartments with no amenities.
That you could find in Hialeah. Nothing against Hialeah, by the way.
No,
but I mean, that's
it's
not
a
what it was
walk-up
supposed to
apartment.
be.
That is not the vision of the residents of the village
No.
of Palmetto Bay. And they won't tell people that yet through the use of variances for people that they're friendly with, they knock parking requirements down from
Mhm.
196 to 102. It makes no sense what's going on here.
That's because they can't think past. They're reactive instead of proactive, and they can't think past what happened yesterday. Do you understand that? I mean, the fact is they don't have a plan. Everything's by a whim. And what's worse is they don't ask for anybody's opinion other than themselves. They got 5 people up there that are not asking for the public's opinion on stuff.
Well, David, you're a money guy.
The public does not want the crap that they're selling them.
David, let's get back to vision. Now.
Okay.
The vision was accountability.
Mhm.
The vision was transparency. What's the date today? I asked rhetorically.
25th, a day after 30-year anniversary of Hurricane Andrew.
So what's 25 days late? If you're not going to get it, they're not going to get out there. Didn't we used to have a policy that the budget would be posted online for all to see no later than August 1st?
Oh yeah, that is 100% correct.
They don't want people to start seeing that things they promised to be funded are not going to be funded, or that they're funding things that they're not pro about, or the fact that they've had all these things and the budget's simply not, is the budget simply still not ready to be posted, or are they intentionally withholding it from the residents' view?
By the way, let me ask you a question. Have they put out any information on how they've used the $12 million they got from the U.S. government?
Which is basically 2 years worth of property tax revenue.
Yeah. Have they sent anything to any resident saying, look, we got this $12 million. This is what we're going to use it to make Palmetto Bay a better place?
Well,
Have they said anything at all, what they're going to do with that $12 million?
Now, I'm not here just to gripe about it.
I
I'm
know,
here
but
to
I don't
tell,
care.
but no,
I
I'm
wanna
here to
know-
tell you. I'm here to tell you.
But I'm
that-
thinking about it while I'm sitting here. You have $12 million in the kitty. Okay. Residents, what would you like to see us do with that $12 million? You need improvements
and
on roads, on bicycle paths, blah, 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 blah. Nothing. You don't hear anything about it.
But see, that's the point. Remember, when I was mayor and the vision of transparency and accountability, we held a tremendous number of
I had
town
more than
hall
I had
meetings.
more than you did.
And now,
I loved having town hall meetings.
but that was another thing we did. I
Yeah.
did not require that everything go through the mayor's office.
Mhm.
It's not a strong mayor position. I empowered every council member to go through and pursue what they felt was important, to do their meetings, to gauge those opinions they felt they needed. And there's a huge value to people coming together, because that's one thing that this current mayor won't do, is tell an opinion to a room filled with differing viewpoints.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you can't tell different things to different people
Wait,
if they're all
and I wanna
listening
take
to
a,
the
I'm
same
going to take a
comment.
shot here, and you're not going to like the shot, okay? But Marsha Matson tried to pass legislation that prohibited, town hall meetings.
No. She was victim of that. She
No,
wanted to have the town hall meeting on the bridge, and she was told she
but
couldn't.
when she
and then
first
they
got
passed
elected,
oh yeah, I understand
when
that.
she first got elected, she brought in a resolution ordinance that said we're not, unless the complete council agrees with town hall meetings, we're going to stop the town hall meetings, and it failed. She brought that in,
and ironically hoisted upon her own petard in that, because the council, then you got back to another interesting flip with this council. They came in under the experience of the different years that we had, open and robust, as Larissa Segalara would say, town hall meetings, communication with our residents, our fellow residents. And then
Larissa was great with that.
Then they said they were going to keep it going until they didn't like the message that Councilwoman Matson was going to put out there. And then they pumped the brakes on that one and flopped, and then said, now it's up to the manager to decide. Well, he's operations. What right does he have to inhibit or otherwise hinder?
Listen, let me tell you, if he's hindering,
policy.
if he's hindering any town hall meetings, and I happen to like him, he should be fired immediately. A representative of the Village of Palmetto Bay, an elected representative of the Village of Palmetto Bay, should be allowed to put on town hall meetings to sit there and listen to the residents, because once again, it's about listening to the residents. And this is one problem that has occurred for the last 4 years. They want to stop residents' input.
Well, and this council won't even keep up with technology. We just got an announcement a couple hours ago, maybe just an hour ago, where they're not going to be doing the live streaming of the Parks Master Plan meeting, which, by the way, we were deep into the Parks Master Plan in 2017. Then the election hit, and they didn't do anything with it. And it was one of those, oh crap moments. They're going to challenge us on the fact that we have an uncompleted open Parks Master Plan project. We've got to have a town hall meeting on it. And strange, it's right on the eve of the election.
Well, no, first of all, number one, the parks are in terrible disarray. They have really, I mean, I was in here with Ed, 2 weeks ago, and he had some pictures of the parks. The parks are in terrible condition. Absolutely terrible condition. The parks have not been improved in 4 years. They've had three different park master plans that I know of. Nothing has moved forward. You got a trailer, sitting there at Car Reef Park that's supposed to be a building, but it's a trailer. They voted to build a building there years ago for $1 million or whatever it was. It's never moved forward. So you don't have I don't know how they even have camps there anymore. It's just the parks are absolutely a disaster. If you walk around and look at the parks, they are not being maintained properly. They're a complete disaster. It's just the way. It's just they're not getting to the basics, right?
Well,
the basics are police, parks, and roads, and that's the basics on how to run a city or a village.
Believe me, it pains me, because as one of the original incorporators, as the first mayor looking at, we originally spent $17 million and got a significant number of grants for that park. It's easier to keep up a park than it is to let it run down and rehabilitate it. And they're using the latter on this.
Listen, they would rather have paved to subsidize a flea market at the park than improve our park system.
No, it's very serious. It's very disconcerting. It's pathetic. And again, it gets back to, vision. I have a vision where government sets the example. Cunningham's government has a vision that they do what they want to do, and we all like it. Because let me ask you something.
And residents
if your house,
be damned.
If your house came down, how long do you think the code would allow you to live in a trailer on that property and not be progressing on rebuilding that house? Isn't that the exact what's going on at Coral Reef Park?
It's exactly what's going on.
So it's do as we say, not as we do. because again, getting back to this, they are making no progress. And remember,
no
had
progress on
budgeted-
anything.
We had budgeted for the new Coral Reef Park
That's right.
building.
Correct.
We had
$1 million
budgeted for that. We had budgeted for that, and we had a building official, manager, architect that had even done renderings for that. And we had taken public input. It could have been ready to go. It wasn't, because we would have taken more public input. But now, just like I said about the blip, for any Marvel fans out there, here we are at election time, and they're scurrying around trying to figure out that they actually, through procrastination, have pushed this off to where there's been nothing done in 4 years. 4 years. Now, the cost of construction's gone up in that time. Obviously, the value of money's gone down in that period of time.
So the building's going to cost more money.
Building's going to cost more money. Again, going back, are we going to use part of the 12.4 for that? Well, that 12.4 is rapidly diminishing, and no legacy projects. Pinecrest had their Envision meetings on that. And one of the tools I wish I would have had when I was mayor, and I will have when I become mayor again, is the virtual platforms are incredible. The town hall meetings you could do. We promised when we incorporated, you would no longer have to go downtown for meetings involving your immediate local lifestyle. But now we have the capability of, you don't even have to leave your home.
You can watch it
to participate. Not just watch, but interact.
Yeah, right. Listen, more people watch this program right now than they do a council meeting.
Share screens, share paperwork. You can download from that. You don't even have to print copies of things. And it's just being ignored. Why? There's only one answer: because they don't want your opinion.
They don't want your opinion.
They don't want your opinion.
And they don't care. Wait,
do.
even worse is they don't care about your opinion.
So let's get back to traffic relief before we run out of time.
Okay, you got 4 minutes.
I'm talking about the blip here again.
Okay.
Remember the Marlin engineering plan that was going around in October of 2017 and again in 18?
That they've ignored.
It was supposed to go through. Blip. 4 years later. Where are those improvements on Old Cutler Road? They were supposed to start basically in January of 2019. If you recall, I think it was October of 2018, in the heat of the race back then, I had talked about how we negotiated with Miami-Dade County for the traffic circle at 174th on US 1. I'm sorry, 174th and 87th Avenue. Now, change administration, change in priorities. What happened when that came before the council? You were on there at the time. Somebody came and complained. Not only did they vote down that traffic circle, but they actually filed a lawsuit
against
to stop
another
that
lawsuit.
circle. So how do you
the
think
village of lawsuits?
So my opponent at that time, the current mayor, had put out an email over my email, if I remember correctly, taking credit for the financing of that traffic circle. But yet she doesn't talk about the fact that she promoted the 86ing of that traffic circle. That's the lack of adult in the room. That's the deterioration of the cooperation and collaboration between Miami-Dade County.
Oh my God.
As mayor,
They laugh
we
at
worked
us.
together with Pinecrest and Cutler Bay. When that big storm happened recently, Flinn as mayor would have been helpful with Cutler Bay and sending our people down there to help fill in while their people did the actual work on the flooding. We would have filled in and helped them.
You and I cut down a few trees after the last.
Well, we didn't cut down trees. We trimmed broken and fallen
that's
trees,
right. Well,
which is a big difference.
Correct. Well, you know what I mean. We were out there with the chainsaw, making sure that the trees that had fallen, were taken off the streets.
Whereas this current administration is out there with the reputational chainsaw, taking down our reputation and our collaboration with other cities. Instead, we had a mayor, and it caused a great amount of controversy when we had a mayor gleefully giggle how we didn't have flooding in Palmetto Bay versus we all saw what happened.
Well, that's why she gets no respect from Cutler Bay either.
That's such a sad. How do you work with people when you basically, is that politically thumbing your nose?
Listen, she's got no respect at all from the council in Cutler Bay, because I've talked to the council at Cutler Bay. Okay. And very little respect from anybody at Pinecrest. And you think that those are sister cities, she'd have a lot more, she'd be liked, right? But she's not liked.
But the fact of the matter is that as far as traffic relief, she talks about in her campaign materials, she had traffic solutions. I'm calling BS on that, because she's using my same playbook which is all she ever learned in the 2014 to 2017 period. But we were supposed to move on to phase 2, which were the actual cures, which were the modifications to Old Cutler Road, which were the getting bikes off the street and over to the side on 136th Street.
Mm-hmm.
And what they haven't changed and ruined, they simply delayed. And phase 2 has never gotten started. So there's been no solutions. It's just been just an endless continuation. It's like Groundhog Day. You wake up and it's just like, it's the same thing.
Listen,
let's go send them an S-47.
As long as she's
plastic.
sending out pictures of her and other people, selfies, she's very happy. You got to take off.
But then again, those pictures, those selfies that she's sending out actually very much hurt our village.
No, they're destroying our village.
She sent her out documenting the fact that she's out at a park playing. When the going gets tough, she didn't show up downtown. But whether you're for or against the bridge, we all have to acknowledge that that's the reason why
You
it's
got the
coming
bridge.
in there today.
You got the bridge.
So
because of
anyway, I'm
Karen
going to go
Cunningham.
back. I'm going to get walking. I want to thank all the viewers out there, and let's keep it going. I'm getting phone calls every day from people that when they aren't home and I leave a hanger, it's amazing. Let's keep it going, and we will get Palmetto Bay back on track. So thank you all. It takes a village.
Thank you to the next mayor of Palmetto Bay. A return. Anyway, so
Thank
he's
you for the
leaving.
$10 million.
He's leaving. So I get to talk about something. So anyway, we're going to talk about two people that have really been engaged in politics in Palmetto Bay. And unfortunately, their engagement has not helped Palmetto Bay at all. And I want to show a clip. This is Gary Pastorella coming up to the council. And I want you to listen to what he has to say. Can somebody play that clip for me? Somebody.
We were told recently in an email that we're putting out fake news. All we do in our communiques with you and everyone else in the village is, and you're right, it is fake news.
Okay, can we one more time? I want you to. Everybody needs to pay attention to what Gary Pastorella is saying in front of the council. And basically I think he was probably sworn in when he said this. Okay, so can you play that clip one more time?
We were told recently in an email that we're putting out fake news. All we do in our communiques with you and everyone else in the village is, and you're right, it is fake news.
Okay, so Gary Pastorella, who actually has teamed up with Shelley Stanzik, ex-mayor, likes to put out misinformation out there and on politicians or stuff like that they don't like. They're one of the ones that came out and were like just hammering Danielle Cohen Higgins about her being an appointed commissioner. Okay, so everybody's going to get emails from Gary Pastorella that actually have been written by Shelley Stanzik. She won't put her name to the emails because she's been sued so many times. So Gary puts his name to the emails and sends out that information. None of those emails that they put out, Gary and Shelley together, are actually factual. I can go through the last 5 of them, okay? And they're all going to sit there and say nasty things about Eugene Flinn, and Eugene Flinn did this, and Eugene Flinn did that, and he took this vote, and he took that vote. But I just want you to realize that when you get those emails, okay, that Mr. Pastorella just admitted or had admitted at a council meeting that he puts out fake news. So please, people, when you get those emails, just delete them. They're not real. They're not based on fact. It came directly from the horse's mouth that it's false information, okay? And this is what they've been trying to do for the last 4, 6, 8 years, okay, is ruin people's reputations based on the fact that they're lying to you. They're lying to everybody. So I just bring this up because I'm thinking today that when I had Gene on the show, poor Gene, he's going to get all these, he's going to be the topic of all these emails because they're supporting our present mayor, okay? And they're just going to be, they're lies. folks. Okay. He's admitted it on record that it's fake news, that there's nothing to substantiate what they put out. So that's my last 5 minutes. I'm going to blow out of here because I got stuff to do. Everybody enjoy your weekend. Thanks for tuning in. Please share this program. Please support Eugene Flinn for mayor. Elections are November 8th. We will have real soon Danielle Cohen Higgins on the show. She's going to talk about what she wants to do the next 4 years in office. I'm delighted that she won. Every once in a while, a good guy wins, or a good girl wins, or a good candidate wins. So congratulations once again to her, and everybody stay safe. And like I said, please send this show out to as many people as you possibly can, because Palmetto Bay residents have to learn the truth. Okay. We don't need more selfies. We need somebody in office who takes appropriate action and can move this village forward. So thank you and good night.